Hello, 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 everyone. This is Coach Powell from Coach Powell Training Development. I am so excited to be here today to talk to you about the next episode. This is the next episode in our business development program, and we are having such a wonderful time sharing information with BD professionals all over the world, just thinking about how do you do the thing that you do better? How do you maximize your opportunities? How do you make sure that the relationships that you're building are actually functional and effective relationships for anything that you're doing? Before we get started with today's program, I got to do a little bit of homework. I got to make sure I pay homage and credit to the people that without their help, this program and all of the things I do would be simply impossible. First of all, have to give shout out to my good friends at Shoemate Engineering. They are the sharpest, brightest engineers I've had the pleasure of meeting in quite a long time. Their gift to the planet is their wonderful HVAC system that they have created that does so many wonderful things for our communities and for data center development. It is really, really vital that when you hear their name, you understand that they're the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to community development, when it comes to working through uh, tremendously powerful and tremendously interested in helping solve problems that are effective in our community. In fact, they just sponsored our pilot program to really, really talk about environmental justice, AI, technology, and we're starting to certify individuals all over the country and all over the world to really, really learn more about how to effectively get involved in at the community level with making sure that the technologies that you're embracing in your community in your world actually function for you the best way they possibly can. So if you're looking to learn more about that, hit me up in the chat. Definitely take advantage of my phone number is scrolling through the screen as many of you can see, and that's also an opportunity. I'd also like to thank my brothers at Phi Beta Sigma who, again, make all of the things that are possible in my business to happen through our Bigger and Better Business program and through our outreach and working with entrepreneurs and business leaders all over the world. If it wasn't for the brothers, man, this would not be as much fun as it totally is right now. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for the opportunity to represent the brand in a way that's meaningful and powerful. And having said that, I'm going to kickstart our program today. This is Coffee, Tea, You and Me, and I am Coach Powell. My love, my passion, my job is to really help entrepreneurs and small businesses take whatever they need to do to the next level. And we've been on a series for the last couple of weeks, and this is number 9 in the series, talking about business development. Now, this subsection of the entire series is all about the relationship development piece and relationship intelligence that you need to have in order to develop your business to the maximum level. I don't care if you're a fundraiser or a community organizer or a really absolute business development professional in your world. No matter what you're doing, you need to understand these relationship intelligence basics, because at the human level and where the big decisions are actually made, no matter what tools or processes we put in front of making those decisions, it is literally the human level decisions that make the major difference. I love AI. I'm not afraid of AI. I embrace AI. But what AI cannot do is make human level decisions. And that is going to be important for you to understand how humans make decisions and how they are using relationships to make high quality decisions. And there are problems with relationship based decisions, don't get me wrong, but there are also opportunities that as a business development professional, as a fundraising professional, as a sales executive, whatever your title is, you need to understand. And then we're going to talk about today a couple parts of just the 7 principles of business development. And we're only going to talk about maybe 3 sections if we can get around to it. We're going to recap what we talked about last week when it comes to the relationship cues, how to know what those cues are, and how to get in front of those, and what to do with them when you experience those cues, either through a chat room or through some kind of video conferencing that you're doing. And I'm a big advocate of video conferencing and making sure that you're actually paying attention to what others are paying attention to as you're doing video conferencing. Is very, very critical skill to be able to have in today's hybrid world, where we're working in various different environments, in various different places. And sometimes multi-level of global initiatives are happening in different time zones. And so you got to be patient. You got to be patient and able, by the way, to pay attention to all of those relationship cues that are important. Next, we're going to get into the metrics, the measurable things that you simply must have loaded up in your CRM systems, in your tools, in your strategy box, everything you use to measure the success as you're doing it before the results come, right? There's the activity successes that you have to measure along the way. And we're going to talk to you about the core measurements that you should be thinking about and you should be taking when it comes to moving the needle on almost anything involving human relationships. And then the last thing we're going to hopefully talk about, if we don't run out of time, is the common traps that most people find themselves in and how to avoid them. I probably should start with that, but I'm not going to, because we're gonna stay in the sequence. But I will tell you, if you don't know how to avoid the mistakes, you're probably going to make them, and you're probably going to suffer the consequences of those mistakes. But we'll get to that in just a second. Before we do anything else, I want to remind you all, if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, no matter what you're doing, I need your engagement. I need you to focus on, telling us where you're coming from, what city you're in. Put it in the chat. If you have a business or something that you would like to highlight or spotlight, this is a business-friendly environment. Let me say it again. This is a business-friendly environment. We want you to be as successful as you can be. So market your product, your service, your event right here in the chat. Let everybody know that you're doing the thing. Even if somebody watches this later on, they might watch it on demand on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. They may bump into something that you are delivering in a way that they can say, I learned about this from Coach Powell from a Coffee to You and Me, and I want to figure out how to get involved. Whatever that is, put it in the chat. I find that too many small businesses don't take advantage of the opportunities that are literally given to them to show up in the spaces that are important for them to show up in. And I want to give you that opportunity right now today. All right. Also, second opportunity, anything that you have a question about when it comes to business development, put it in the chat. Put the question in the chat. Engage as much as you can. No question is a bad question. No question is the wrong question. Put it in the chat. Do not be afraid of being a part of the global diaspora of small businesses that come together right here in this room today. This is a safe space. This is the place where you can go and get your ideas heard and ask your questions and get some answers. Now, by the way, I might not necessarily know all the answers to all the questions, but somebody else who's watching this might know the answers to your question. And why not get some free advice? Why not be open to an exchange? What is the reason that you would think, besides sharing and telling too much about your intellectual property, which we totally understand, all right? But if you have questions outside of that, then ask the question. Don't let the opportunity pass you by to get what you need from this or any other moment, because sometimes those opportunities don't come back again. Okay, but I'm coming back again next Friday. So don't worry about me, because I'll definitely be coming back again. Okay, so here's today's chat and today's topic. We're talking about the 7 relationship intelligence concepts and ideas that every business development person needs to know. And I'm going to read the 7 for you right now. There are core capabilities of relationship intelligence. You got to understand what those are. You got to understand how to use them. There are 4 practical behaviors that you could be practicing right now, that making sure that you're checking yourself with your family, other people that other people that you're close to make sure that you're engaging in these 4 behaviors super well. All right. There are 5 relationship rituals and drills that we give you in previous sections. So you can go back to last week and the week before last and learn more about those five rituals and relationship and rituals and drills that you could do. There are literally 6 relationship cues. These are things that people might indicate to you, either verbally or non-verbally, that may adjust how you work with them and how you deal with the next level of what you should be dealing with in their relationship. There are metrics to measure your relationship health, and there are common traps that you need to learn how to avoid. And the last thing that you have to think about, and we'll get into this in a couple of weeks, is the quick checklist items for every account interactions. Now, this is powerful stuff. So I hope that you're taking it in the way I intend in terms of delivering it, but I can't be more, how can I put it, serious about these ideas and thoughts. These are things that are well researched, and there's a list of resources that I'm really willing to share with you. If you ask me any questions about anything, I could tell you exactly where that came from, what we're intending. If you need to clarify something, again, feel free to ask the questions. Okay, let's get into topic really quick today. We're going to start with the relationship cues. Now, we ran through those relationship cues last week, but I think it bears repeating to just sort of set up what we're going to talk about for the rest of this week. There are 4 relationship cues that you need to read, first of all, and understand, and then you need to act upon those cues. When you're across the table or at the table with people that you want to collaborate with, people that you want to work with, people that you want to understand, you have to know where the power in the room is. So the power cue is critically important, because sometimes power is centralized, meaning there's a person who holds all the cards, who is actually the decision maker, who is actually the person who everybody else listens to, defers to, and you need to see that happening in the rooms that you're communicating in. You need to be engaged and thinking and watching to make sure that you understand 2 truths. One, is power centralized or is power distributed? If power is centralized, I need you to hear me on this one. If you find that there is a decision maker, I mean a power broker, I mean a person that everybody listens to, that you're trying to, but you're talking to the wrong people about the wrong things, this is not going to be helpful to you. You need to surface a decision criteria and a timeline with that person who has the authority and the power to make the decision about what happens next in the business development relationship that you need to have. If you find that the power is distributed, right, meaning everybody has a little bit of say as to what goes next in this relationship, in this business development opportunity, then you're going to want to create coalition steps and smaller approvals, which means you have to sit back and then think through, what are the things that we can do together as a team, as a coalition, as a cohort, right, to really, really move the needle. Again, small steps on a regular incremental basis, right? You want to do it that way, because if you try to force a decision in a distributed decision-making organization, the decision that you're going to force is going to be no, right? So to avoid that, you need to know how the power is distributed in the organization. Is it centralized? Is it distributed? Is it coalition-based? Where is it? The second thing you got to think about when it comes to cues is about interest. If the interest that of your offering or potential offering is so low, please, 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 please. First of all, read my 100% closing ratio guide, right? The second thing is you got to reframe the value to a metric that the person that you're talking to cares about. Because if you need them to introduce you to another person, or you need them to go up the chain with your thought processes, your offering, or you yourself, however you want to do that, right? You got to make it valuable to them first so they can see it. They can see the value of you. They can see the value of your offering in a way that makes sense to them. And then you have to figure out what's the smartest way to accelerate that offer up the chain without them saying, well, let me take the ball and run with it, because they really can't run with your ball. If any questions about that, put it in the chat, please. Now, if you find that the interest is already high, meaning they're leaning in, they're asking engaging questions, they're asking you questions like, so if we were to get started, what would that look like? Oh, how soon can you think you can move this forward if we were to say yes, right? These are buying questions. These are questions that people are giving you that indicate they are phenomenally interested in what you're offering or what you're trying to say. And they probably have the decision-making authority to move the needle some kind of way and move it forward. So that helps you as well, right? What you want to do at that moment is you want to, again, create a small step that they could take to move the needle, right? A small pilot, a small task, a small ask, a small, just simple step that moves the momentum forward during the capture process. Right. The third thing is the emotional cue. Right. People are usually kind of somewhere in the middle between frustration and enthusiasm. When you sense that fear and frustration is present, then what you need to do at that point is validate and reduce the risk with a short test of some type. Meaning, when people are afraid, then or somehow they're frustrated in real time, they tend not to want to make any decisions at all. And so what you're validating is the reason why they should make a small decision, right? This reduces the risk, and all they're doing is taking a small step in the direction that you need them to take. But you need to help them take that small step, because if you don't know how to help them take that small step, then you're done. Their fear is gonna stop the process. It's gonna stop the movement forward. However, now if a group or a team or a person is super enthusiastic about what you're talking about, they're gonna want to be able to express that enthusiasm in some way, right? So that's the time to start capturing testimonials, endorsements, recommendations. That's the time to start building your third-party credibility, your social proof that you're going to need to move things forward at some other time when they're demonstrating enthusiasm about your process. Anytime that shows up, I don't care whether you just start talking the first 5 minutes, right? If they're enthusiastic about talking to you, they're enthusiastic about working with you, they're enthusiastic about the next steps with you, then you want to begin that process of capturing the testimonials, getting the endorsements, getting the recommendations, making sure that you have, again, that third-party validity and credibility is so super, super important to helping you then share that with others, even in the team, on your team, in other people's teams, so that you have something that's provable about the quality that you bring to the table. Number 4 thing is the alignment cue. This probably should be the first thing or the first idea in this section when it comes to relationship cues that you need to read and act on. But the alignment cue is super, super important, because when you find in conversation that you are misaligned, right, you cannot simply sweep the conflict under the rug. You have to surface the conflict and then propose a compromise experiment. Now, what do we mean? When you find there's a misalignment, you paying attention, you'll start to see people have that look on their face like, or they start shaking their head, or they start doing something that indicates that they're not with you, right? You need to figure out what that conflict is immediately, right? And then you need to propose some type of compromise, some type of experiment, something that's going to get things back into alignment. Now, if you find that there is alignment, then you need to start to formalize the next steps. Because once there is a clear alignment from what you're thinking and where you're going and what you want to do, you're going to move right into, developing what you need to develop the contracts. Right? Okay. That's enough of that. So let me make sure I rehash that. The four relationship cues that you need to read and act upon is the power cue, the interest cue, the emotion cue, the alignment cue. Okay, so there tends to be like 5 metrics to measure relationship health, and all these metrics are super important. You can't skip any one of these. You need to measure the trust velocity. You need to measure the multi-level coverage throughout your organization and decision makers. You need to measure the commitment hit rate, right? You need to measure the reciprocity score, and you need to measure the relationship churn. Let's get into it. Number 1, trust velocity. What is trust velocity? That is the time that it takes from the first meaningful contact that you have in an organization or with a person to the time that you get to a named commitment. It can be a small commitment, it can be a big commitment, right? But you have to remember that there may take a lot of smaller commitments to get to the bigger commitment. So first of all, it's the commitment to maybe the first 15-minute meeting. And that could be a Zoom call, it could be a phone call, it could be something simple. And then there's the commitment to the next 20, 30-minute meeting. And that could be a discovery process, or that could be an interview to really find out and frame up the potential possibilities of working together and what that might look like. And then there's the closing meeting, right? And you're lucky if you can get it done. Depending on how more complicated the sale is, or the transaction time or process is, the more complicated it is, the more time you're going to spend in increments getting up to the big commitment. And as you collect, by the way, more and more data from more and more simple processes, you're going to find there's a pattern of how much time it takes to move your thing, your practices forward, in terms of any kind of business development, whether that's, again, fundraising, investment, or business acquisition. However, whatever you need to do to again create that relationship and move the needle forward. The second thing you want to do when it comes to business metrics is you want to measure the multi-level coverage. How many accounts do you have in that organization? How many accounts do your people work on in that organization? You want to be able to map the users, the influencers, and the decision makers, right? My suggestion is you figure out how to quickly hand off certain portions of certain accounts to different people in your organization. And as you grow the business development culture in your organization, you have more of a solid footing on a national or regional level, with investment bankers or with marketers or anybody who wants to come in and help you, again, grow to the next level, because you have a standard, a basis of business development expertise amongst your entire field of employees. Number 3 metrics that you should be measuring is your commitment hit rate. This is the percentage of micro commitments that you get to deliver on time. So if you're smart, if you do kind of things that I try to help my clients do, is establish a series of micro commitments that they know they can deliver just like that. Real simple. So they get in a pattern of delivering something that is meaningful, that is useful, right on time, every time, no matter what they do when they meet another person, another group, another team, they are always there to make the next commitment and deliver on that commitment. The process is called Promises Promise. And I write about this a lot in the 9 steps to developing professional relationships, which a lot of this we're talking about today is built on. The next part of developing and measuring your relationship health is number 4, your reciprocity score. This is literally the frequency of inbound help or referrals that you get from stakeholders. Now, who are stakeholders? Your major potential investors, your major potential fundraisers, or donors in the scope of fundraiser, your major potential referral sources, as well as your biggest, most important clients, right? You want to have a reciprocity score with any or all of those people, depending on where you are in your business development strategy or world, but you want to have a reciprocity score that you're measuring. It's the frequency of inbound help. How many times does somebody show up for you to go deeper into an organization, to bring another product or service to their attention and to make that referral? How many times do your stakeholders, your advisory council members, your people that you're working with on a regular, consistent basis come through and share something of value that helps you begin or manage or create higher levels of relationship health within opportunities that you are either seeking, opportunities you already have, and you want to go deeper those opportunities, right? The 5th thing you want to measure when it comes to relationship health metrics, right, are the relationship churn. This is the percentage of key contacts that you lose or replace every year, right? If you find yourself having to always, after a transaction, find the next transaction somewhere other than the clients that you're working with, then you're not in a sustainable position, right? That's not creating internal growth in your business. And if you're losing key contacts because there's a lack of follow-up between you and your team, there's a lack of rotation between quality members of your team, or you're not really replacing those lost contacts because you only have one contact in the organization when you should have maybe 5 or 6, depending on how deep you need the relationships to go to max out everything that you bring to the table for your organization and everything they bring to the table from their organization. And so it's hard to create win-win on institutional level if all the relationships are one-to-one, right? You need to have a team relationship with their team as well as your relationships with your teams. That's why it's important to rotate those relationships and to manage those systematically. All right, so let's repeat the 5 metrics that you need to measure relationship health from a professional point of view are this. 1, the trust velocity. 2, multi-level coverage. 3, your commitment hit rate. 4, your reciprocity score. And 5, your relationship churn. Okay, we got enough time to go into the last segment of this. And if I don't really go deep enough, I promise I'll recover it again next Friday. All right, these are the 4 common traps that a lot of BD people find themselves in, and then how to avoid them. Trap number 1 is trying to treat everybody the same. Bad idea. Trap number 2, over-reliance on a single champion. Again, another bad idea. Trap number 3, warmth without boundaries. Hugely bad idea. And trap number 4, manufacturing trust with promises you can't keep. Okay, let's get into these. These are the traps, and they're very, very important. If you can avoid the trap, right, first of all, you're winning because you're not slowing down to trying to fix a problem that somehow was created somewhere within your organization and within your systems. All right, so number 1, treating everyone the same, bad idea. Why? Everyone wants to be recognized personally as an individual. No one wants to be put in any box whatsoever. I love people who rock out to these personality tests, and I don't at the same time. Because those who are sophomoric, where they're going to go, oh, well, you're a C, you're a D, you're an I. I know how to handle you. I know what to do. Or you're a Gemini, or you're a Taurus, or you're a this or that. I know how to handle you because I already got you in that box. Or I know because of your ethnic background, or I know because of your, whatever it is. You cannot put people in boxes. You cannot treat everybody the same. You have to treat every individual based on their desire to be treated. Now, I know the golden rule. I'm going to suggest that you all follow the platinum rule, which is instead of treating others like you want to be treated, treat others the way they want to be treated, meaning you have to take the time to find out from them what's important and what's vital and how they want to be treated. And there are some really, really strategic ways that we can teach you how to do that. But it's super important that you do it because you have to understand one size erases significance. If you treat everyone the same, then you're erasing the thing that makes them feel significant, the things that make them feel relevant, the things that makes them feel meaningful. And I remind you, everybody wants their MRS degree, right? They want to be meaningful, relevant, and significant. And so to the extent that you can help them find meaning, relevance, and significance within your relationship, brilliant opportunity. And you will avoid that trap of treating everyone the same. Okay, number 2, over-reliance on a single champion. This is so common sense. I don't even know why I have to say it, but I do have to say it. Because we are in a universe right now that is upside down. Very few companies understand why they should build multiple levels of coverage in their business development relationships because they want to be able to survive personnel changes on both sides. People are jumping ship, people are getting fired, people are getting, and whole relationships are dying because somebody left and they owned everything in that relationship situation. When it comes in companies, communities, whole entire organizations are suffering dramatically because they didn't realize when they fired one single person that 90% of their professional relationships went out the door with that person because that person was the only person who could deal with the business development in their organization and be that person that was basically a rainmaker. And without them, they stopped raining, right? You must consider relationship at the institutional level for long-term stability. Let me say it again. You must consider relationships at the institutional level for long-term sustainability, stability, and reliability. All of that is important to whatever your company value becomes. All right. It's only the value of the relationships that's going to matter when it's all said and done. All right. And it's important that you do that and establish those things well. 3, creating warmth without boundaries. Now, I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy when it comes to kindness. I'm a big guy when it comes to building rapport. I'm a big guy when it comes to, sharing something of substance before you expect others to give you back and reciprocate with something of substance or meaning. However, you need to understand that when you are overkind, you practice too much kindness without little expectations, that becomes permissiveness. And people start taking more than you want to give. And because that's the pattern of a relationship that you've started, whether it's professional or personal, because there's no boundaries, right? There's no expectations. There's no judgment calls that you're making ahead of time to say, okay, this is the structure of this relationship and this is how it works. It will work best for me. I'm assuming it'll work this way for you, but let's make sure that these are the kinds of things I'm thinking that are important and vital for us to work on together. What do you think? And you have that dialogue and you have that agreement and you have an understanding, and therefore everybody can give their best to that. right? Everybody can bring what they bring to the table and be clear about their expectations. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people get destroyed by the lack of clear expectations. And yes, you can have compassion and passion, but also have clear deliverables. All right. Don't just allow passion and compassion to be the crutch that you lean on without clear deliverables and meaningful expectations. I can't say that enough. The last and probably the one of the most significant traps that I see people business development get themselves in is trying to manufacture trust by delivering promises that they can't keep. I would almost prefer that you only commit to and promise small deliverable wins that you can compound over a series of meetings and a series of connections with some credibility. So let's start small, right? Very important that you don't try to get to home run or third base on the first swing. You know, you need to make sure that you're getting some bases, you're getting some, some at bats, you're getting some first base, second base opportunities, and that's how you win long term. You don't win long term by trying to go for a home run every time you get up at bat. Get a bunt here and there, knock it into left field just to make sure that you can get a chance to get to first base. Right? If you start thinking that way, how do I just how do I get to the next base? Instead of how do I win the big opportunity? How do I close the big deal? How do you close the next thing? And you make promises to deal with that in that space before you take on the next thing, right? Because you want reliable wins, and you want those reliable wins to compound your credibility, meaning you gain more and more and more credibility, more and more trust, more and more value with every single interaction. And it won't take a lot of time, but it will take more interactions and more quality time spent with your contacts, whether they're referral sources or funders or investors or stakeholders of any type. You're going to want to make small commitments that you can quickly turn around and then do that thing. Right? I got lots of examples to share with you all, all kinds of stuff about any of those things. But I'm going to take a break and see if there's any questions out here in the chat that we can talk through. Things that, I see my girl Leah's out here. I love you, Leah. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I really appreciate your comments and things you bring to the table. You are a shining light, especially in a world that